What is going on, everybody? This is the Franz, and we are here for what is hoped to be many episodes of WWE Unscripted. We talk about everything that's happened over the last few days or the week or so. We go into what's going to happen later on in the year, and it's going to be news, rumors, and predictions. But it's just a new name, and we're going to do what we can to make this a lot of fun. This week we talk about Ronda Rousey and her plans for WrestleMania, my thoughts and feelings on how they handled her stealing the thunder of everybody, including the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble, by having her come out after the match was over, and how they just botched that completely, in my opinion. The news on Rey Mysterio and why he hasn't signed a deal with WWE yet, which is not a surprise to me. We have the couple women who starts on Ronda Rousey. We have the Elimination Chamber, both men and women. We have so much more in all on this episode of the WWE Unscripted with the France. Let's get into it, and let's start with Ronda Rousey. As you all remember, on Sunday, after Asuka won the first ever women's 30 woman Royal Rumble match, which was a pitiful match, and in my opinion did not live up to the name of the Royal Rumble. Could have been done so much better. Half the time the women who weren't eliminated were on the outside anyway, because they do one or two things, and the next thing you know, they roll out of the ring because somebody knocked them on their ass. But it is what it is, and hopefully WWE has learned from the mistake this year and will not put that on next year. After the Men's Royal Rumble, as I stated on this past Sunday night, that the WWE should have not put the woman on last, for the fact of the matter is that the entire pay-per-view after the Men's Royal Rumble meant absolutely nothing. The crowd was 100% dead, and they made a pop for Ronda Rousey coming out, and that's because they spent the entire tag team match, the championship match, and the Women's Royal Rumble just resting and waiting for Ronda Rousey to come up. Yes, Trish got a big pop, but when does Trish not get a big pop? She is close to, if not the Stone Cold of the women's division, of the women's wrestlers from back in the day. She gets that pop no matter how dead the crowd is. As soon as they hear Trish's music, it's a pop that nobody, not even Lita, who was earlier in that match, ever gets. Anyway, the F4WOnline.com is reporting that WWE is planning to have Ronda Rousey compete at WrestleMania 34 in a tag team match against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. They go on to note that there have been a lot of rumors going around about revisiting the match that WWE wanted to do at WrestleMania 31, Ronda Rousey and The Rock versus Stephanie and Triple H. It is unknown at this time whether the match could even be put together, since The Rock has been unable to wrestle for several years due to insurance issues tied up with his various movies. PW Insider speculates the WWE could pair Rousey up with Braun Strowman, who still has unfinished business with Triple H going back to the Survivor Series. So you mean to tell me you had Ronda Rousey? This is why I say they botched this. You had this historic first time ever. They touted it all month and a half long. First time ever. Royal Rumble match for the women. Not as historic as I'm pretty sure other promotions, but in the first time in WWE, they've done a Women's Royal Rumble match. All 30 of these women, and you have Asuka, which was a fan favorite behind, maybe if Ronda Rousey showed up, which would have been an even bigger mistake, but you had Asuka win this match. She's on the corner, pointing to the WrestleMania side, and comes down and stands in between Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, both facing the titles, and then Joan Jett, by bad reputation by Joan Jett, hits the mic in the front thing, and Ronda Rousey comes out wearing Piper's t-shirt, a knockoff version of Piper's t-shirt, which if they wanted to do this right, just have her wear Piper's t-shirt, and Piper's jacket, comes in, points to the chest, points to the WrestleMania sign, and I'm like, what did you do? You haven't done anything. This woman in the middle of these two are the champions, even though the champions have taken a back burner for 95% of this build to WrestleMania, to Royal Rumble. But these two are the champions, and this woman right here in the middle, who you tried to shake hands, slapped it away because she wanted nothing to do with you. These three have a reason to be in the ring. What have you done? Nothing. So they had you come out and steal the thunder of everybody. I'm not talking about, what are you talking about after the Royal Rumble was over? Were you talking about how well Molly Holly looked? How many eliminations? Who had the most eliminations? Who had the first eliminations? Who was the first two women in the Royal Rumble itself? No, you're talking about Ronda freaking Rousey. Why? because WWE wants to have that Sports Center moment that lasted for about 10 minutes later that night, and it was never really talked about again. The fact that you had Ronda Rousey that you could have had later on after her movie's finished, if anything, have her come out during the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view or something, or on a Monday Night Raw, because she wasn't even out Monday Night Raw. She went back to Columbia to finish filming her movie. It was total bullshit. They ruined this first time ever for all the women. What are you going to remember about the first Women's Royal Rumble match? 10 to 15 years from now, what are you going to remember about that first Women's Royal Rumble match? The fact that Molly Holly had a heck of a showing. How, I believe Michelle McCool has the most eliminations in the first Women's Royal Rumble match. The fact that Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch started the match. The fact that Asuka won this match. Now, you're going to remember, that's the night Ronda Rousey came out. That's the night that Ronda Rousey put her claim and said, I'm going to WrestleMania, and I'm here as a full-time WWE wrestler after my movie's done. Bad move on WWE's part. The fact that they took what they have been touting for weeks, for a month and a half, that this is a first-time ever event. You took all of that and you took it up, scrunched it up, and threw it away because you had Ronda Rousey come out and just go, well, but middle fingers to everybody else. It's my time. This is my spot. Don't care what everyone has. Then, of course, you had Stephanie McMahon come on Monday Night Raw the next night, trying to damage control that by having Asuka come out and cut a promo, which she did in Japanese. I still like to know that translation for what she said and all that. So you had Ronda Rousey steal the thunder of everybody. We have a couple women who have their thoughts on that, and then you have. Then, you made it look like it's going to be Asuka maybe versus Ronda Rousey. They've been teasing Ronda Rousey versus Asuka because she's been using the armbar for the last month and a half or two. But no, it's going to be a tag team match between her and a partner, which I'm expecting. They say maybe Braun Strowman, but what we were going to be talking about later with the speculated card, I don't think that's going to happen. And I honestly think it's beneath Braun Strowman, who's been built up as such a big monster, to be stuck with this woman who has not proven herself whatsoever in the world of the WWE in a mixed tag match against an aging Triple H and Stephanie McMahon who doesn't wrestle at all. She's had one match in the last, 20 years? And that was against Brie Bella at SummerSlam a couple years ago, and that match was awful? Are you kidding me? Could have did this a whole lot better, WWE. You for weeks shoved it down our throats. So this was a big deal. And then when it came to the big end of this match that was supposed to be a big deal, you yourselves didn't even care about it because all you cared about was Ronda Rousey coming in and saying, hey, look, I'm here and I'm going to WrestleMania even though I haven't proved a damn thing. So, I'm not happy with the fact that they did that and the fact that they're going to have her come in, steal the thunder of the winner. And it looked like maybe because she slapped her hand away, it's going to be Ronda Rousey versus Asuka. Which, if you were going to do that, and the fact that they came up with this this elimination chamber for the women, I was like, that would be the perfect place for Ronda Rousey to come in. Asuka wins the Women's Royal Rumble. Ronda Rousey wins the Women's Championship, even though it wouldn't be the smartest thing to do. But I could see WWE doing it for that big ESPN boost. Ronda Rousey comes in, goes to the Elimination Chamber, and wins the Women's Championship. Going to WrestleMania, the next night on Raw, Asuka comes out and challenges her at WrestleMania. And you have Asuka versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania for the WWE Raw Women's Championship. But it looks like that's not even going to happen. So what was the point? Absolutely no point. Heck, you could have just had Ronda Rousey on the video screen next night on Monday Night Raw. Forget the Royal Rumble. You didn't even have to have her show up. Have her just do a video screen, something on the video screen, or via satellite from Colombia of her announcing her debut in the WWE. You didn't even have to have her show up. If she wasn't going to be in the Rumble match, if she has nothing to do with the Women's Championship matches, either one of them at WrestleMania, there was no fucking point. So, that's all I have to think about that. There was no point of her coming out and ruining everything, because we talk about when they show off the first Men's Royal Rumble, which was back in 1988, I believe, or 87, when Hacksaw Jim Duggan won. There was nothing big media about it back then, but we all remember Hacksaw Jim Duggan winning it. Are you really going to remember Asuka winning this Royal Rumble? No. You're going to remember that's the night Ronda Rousey made her WWE debut as an in-ring competitor, point to WrestleMania, go over, shake Steph's hand, and then she walks off with a smile on her face. I am not the only one, and a couple other people aren't happy, and they are women in the WWE. Some women in the WWE throw shade at Ronda Rousey, and a few of them definitely are not happy with Rousey making her debut at the 30 Women's Royal Rumble. Nia Jax tweeted, "Cool, she's here. I guess 30 women making history can just be forgotten." I just went over that, and that's how I feel. That you had this big Royal Rumble for these 30 women, and a lot of them, and a good bit of them being back from the past, which we'll get into in a second. And it's just, no one's talking about it. Ronda Rousey's here. Bella Twins also. There was a video, there was a tweet that WWE put out, was they were getting the candid comments of Ronda Rousey, and the Bella Twins Twitter account reacted, "Wonder what all the 30 women candid thoughts were too, And first ever women's Royal Rumble. Yeah. Banks, and then Sasha Banks, who says on the Busted Open a day or two ago, when asked about her thoughts on the coverage of Ronda Rousey, "I have nothing nice to say, so I can't say anything at all," Banks said. "I have nothing to say about it." These women, unfortunately, are gonna have to try, and if they really actually feel like this, that they're not happy about this, they are gonna kind of have to keep it low key, simply because this is what WWE wants. And if you have anything terrible to say about this, WWE will just move on from you. So if you really want to keep your job secure, definitely just got to keep your mouth shut, so WWE doesn't sit there and figure, "Oh, well, she doesn't want to be, she's not useful, so let's just get rid of her." So yes, I'm pretty sure that's just 3-4 people right there. I'm sure half the women who were in this historic match were not happy that everything they just put out there, even though it was not a really good Royal Rumble match, the men's was 10 times better, a million times better than this match, that they probably all feel resentment for the fact that everything they just went out there, made history in WWE's eyes, and it means nothing now. It means absolutely nothing. We'd have to sit here and talk about it more, and I bet you when they talk about this Royal Rumble next year, they're going to show Ronda Rousey coming out afterwards, just because they have to, because they got to just have that ESPN moment and feel like, "Oh wow, this was a big moment." Yeah, it was a big moment for the big company, but everything that you shoved down our throats for the last month and a half meant absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. So what was the point? Why were there so many legends in the Women's Royal Rumble match? PSW Insider is reporting that the reason there were so many legends in the first ever Women's Royal Rumble match is because WWE wanted the match to be a celebration of all the women that had helped make the division what it has become. They also note that several of the women reached out to WWE, wanted to take part in the Rumble match. Some of them were apparently booked for weeks ago, while others were confirmed at Raw 25. You're talking about legends like, yes, Trish deserved it. Lita, yes. Molly Holly, I'd give her that too. Jacqueline, yes. Kelly, no. Michelle McCool, no. Those two right there alone were were part of the dark ages of the women's division. They were in the Diva Championship era where nobody gave a crap about the women's division. Molly Holly, Trish, Lita, Jacqueline were all at the part when Diva was just being used up. Back when, they tried to make Diva sound like it meant Diva of Stole. That's where they got Diva from. I don't buy that. Not at all. But when you have Kelly, who was green as grass, and they also mentioned, yeah, she started in WWE on ECW as an exhibitionist in this match. They didn't say exhibitionist, but she started in ECW back in the day. She was 19. The woman was green as grass and wasn't a good wrestler at all. She's got a good face, so that's what she was for, was just somebody to look at. It's like, here's this pretty girl, she's got this and that. No. Definitely wasn't, like, those two I wouldn't really call us celebrating, because yes, of course, Michelle McCool was going to be in the match. Her husband is The Undertaker. Everyone knows that. But, nah. So, celebration, yes, for, like, Jacqueline, Molly Holly, who looked fantastic, by the way. Jacqueline, I don't remember Jacqueline being in there very long. Like, she was there and she was gone. Jacqueline, Molly Holly, Trish, and Lita. Yes, those four definitely deserve to be. Then you had Vicky Guerrero, who, not a wrestler at all. She was what you would call a heel. She made you hate her to be there. She loved doing that. So I wouldn't fault Vicky Guerrero for that, but to be a celebration of women and what they've done to bring it there. After Trish, Lita, Molly Holly, and Jacqueline were all gone until 2000, and what was it, 14? 2013, 14, 15, the women's division or the Divas division was nothing but a laughingstock, and that's not really a celebration. Same thing with Nikki and Brie, which, yeah, that's not. You shouldn't celebrate that stuff just because it was a dark age and nobody cared about the women's division back then at all. But it was the first time they did a women's Royal Rumble match. The question I have, because unless you're bringing a lot more women up next year, what are you going to do for next year's Rumble for this if you're going to have another women's 30 women's Royal Rumble match? You've used Trish, you've used Lita, you used Molly Holly, you used Jacqueline, you used Vicky Guerrero, you used Michelle McCool, Kelly. I'm missing somebody, ain't I? I know I'm missing a couple. But those seven alone, you can't just have those come back next year. Are you going to have like who am I trying to think of? Are you gonna have like Caitlyn come back? Are you gonna have AJ Lee come back next year? What are you gonna do? Because unless you're gonna have more women be brought up, like the iconic duo, which I could totally see, which I'm still like miffed that they didn't make it to the Royal Rumble. I would have had them over Ember Moon and Kairi Sane because I don't think Ember Moon as a champion or Kairi Sane should have been in the Women's Royal Rumble. I'm not saying that they didn't impress, but the fact that they were in there and they shouldn't be anywhere near the Women's Rumble yet is just, I don't know why they did that. So WWE's got to think, if you want this Royal Rumble to be a thing every year, they should have somebody dedicated to who they're going to have in next year's Rumble. I know that's a long way off, but I'd say about SummerSlam or Survivor Series. Figure out if legends you're going to do. If not, what else are you going to do? Because you can't just have Michelle McCool and Lita and Trish Stratus and Molly Holly and Vicky Guerrero come out every single year because they're not being legends. They're not surprises anymore. It's just, oh, they're going to be a yearly thing until one of these ladies come out and actually win the thing. Why Mysterio hasn't signed with WWE after his Rumble appearance. PW Insider was reporting after this past Sunday, while Rey Mysterio's huge problem at the Royal Rumble caught WWE management's attention, the two sides have still not been able to come to a deal beyond his one-off appearance at the Royal Rumble. The main reason they say that the two sides have not been able to come to a deal is because WWE would like Rey to work a full-time schedule and Rey would prefer a part-time schedule. So the biggest reason why Rey Mysterio hasn't come back full time is because he doesn't want to be full time. The guy is at 47 years of age. I think it's 42. First off, people probably sit there and was like, well, when Chris Jericho comes back, he works the whole schedule. He goes on house shows. He does Raw, SmackDown, and SmackDown and pay-per-views. He does tours. He does everything. Yeah, but the difference between Rey Mysterio and Chris Jericho is that Rey Mysterio has had like 5 or 6 knee surgeries. Chris Jericho, yes, he had his bad back when he first started doing DDP yoga, and if it wasn't for DDP yoga, yes, Chris Jericho wouldn't be able to wrestle anymore. But the Mysterio's body just hasn't been able to keep up with him to have a full-time schedule. I'm sure if it wasn't for the fact that Rey Mysterio has been on the disabled list in WWE before he left all off and on towards the end of his career, that he wouldn't mind coming back. But the dude's trying to keep his body healthy enough to be able to walk, so if he was wrestling for WWE, he'd be able to do it on a part-time basis. Would he have a Brock Lesnar type schedule? Probably not. He'd probably wrestle just Raw or SmackDown, or if they wanted to, 205 Live, which when they came out with the general manager, I was like, well, you know what? I think Rey Mysterio would have been a great pick for the general manager, for the fact of the matter is, he could be the guy in charge of 205 Live, and he could wrestle when they need him to, not all the time. He'd still have a part in WWE. He'd still have his face in WWE. He would have made a heck of a GM, but they didn't go with that. We'll go over who they went for in a bit. But Rey Mysterio is not back in WWE because he does not want to be a full-time wrestler. And quite honestly, they don't need him every single week. If they wanted to bring him back and put him on SmackDown Live, which is where they've always wanted the Latino presence when they have a brand split. That's why you had Alberto Del Rio when he was there, started on SmackDown Live. That's why Eddie Guerrero was always there. That's why Chavo, Eddie, and Rey Mysterio, when they had the SmackDown 6, were on SmackDown. It's because they wanted the Latino heavy presence on SmackDown Live on SmackDown. So hopefully WWE will get their heads out of their asses and talk to Rey Mysterio and be like, listen, we'll give you a part-time position. We'll have you be an on-air authority figure. Same when Daniel Bryan. This would be perfect for Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio could be an on-air authority figure for SmackDown Live after Daniel Bryan leaves. But unlike Daniel Bryan, who's not cleared to wrestle, Rey Mysterio every so often can be put into a storyline where he has to wrestle. So you get your part-time Rey Mysterio. We also see Rey Mysterio on SmackDown Live all the time. Without, like, not all the time, but when a general manager is needed. And there you go, winner. Is it a good idea? Let me know in the comment section below. But it would be interesting, especially if Daniel Bryan does leave the company and they're able to sign Rey Mysterio. Bring him back as the new general manager. But he can also wrestle for, like, SummerSlam or any of the pay-per-views. He just doesn't have to wrestle all the time. So he gets his part-time gig, but he also gets a lot of exposure time because he is a big name that WWE could use right now for SmackDown, which needs it more than Raw. WWE legend does not want to see Sasha Banks take and bump again like she did on Monday Night Raw, where Sasha Banks, I will say this, has a knack with looking like she's trying to kill herself out there. Remember her and Asuka had a match on Monday Night Raw where she went for a suicide dive. Sasha Banks was almost out, wasn't even out of the ring all the way, and I believe Asuka hit her with a roundhouse kick, and she just right into the LED board and down onto the floor. It was a nasty looking spot. Mick Foley had a couple of tweets. Foley tweeted, "I really don't want to see Sasha Banks try and dive again. Too many close calls. Time to take that item off the menu." He did reply to somebody again, didn't get the. He was for Vince Russo. It says, "It's not something I want to say, Vince Russo, but man, if I don't speak up, I don't sleep tonight." I kind of have to agree a little bit with Mick Foley on this, because Sasha Banks we want to see wrestle for the next 10 years, like 10 plus years, if she could have that much time in wrestling. But having these death-defying moves that she's had over the last 2 years or so. She's had back injuries after injury after injury after injury. That spot on Monday Night Raw was nasty. She literally got hit with a kick, went back into the LED board, and then just landed on her neck. I don't want to see that stuff again. She can entertain still by doing her, like, all the other stuff, but she's gotta ease it up. The more, like, as Daniel Bryan has stated all the time, every wrestler, everybody in the world, even if you're not a wrestler, because you all take bumps no matter what, like you run into something, or you fall down, everyone has a limit to how many bumps in their life they can take. And doing dangerous moves like that suicide dive that ended up having her look like she fell on her head or neck does not help her at all. And then with the women's elimination chamber coming up, I'm pretty sure she's going to be in there too, and that's going to exacerbate and, like, take her bump card from being, like, say, 1,000,000 bumps to, like, 999,000. So, like, it's going to be something that she needs to, like, ease up, because it's going to come to a point, as we just had Paige lose her career in WWE because of injury to the neck. And after what Sasha Banks did on Monday Night Raw with that kick that she got hit by Asuka, and she ended up hitting the floor and looking with that nasty bum, I would kind of if I was WWE in the back, I'd be having the people in the back be like, Sasha, listen, we just had Paige have to retire from in-ring competitor. We don't want you to lose your career too, and hurt this women division any more than it already is, because we lost Paige. If we lose you too, then that's just one less talented athlete on the main roster that we will not have. And that kick could have been it for Sasha. It really could have. Kick to the face, kick to the head, she goes down, she hits her neck, and then she's paralyzed. You got to be careful with those, and Sasha's been through a lot of those. Many back spots, especially with her feud with Charlotte. Those were some nasty hits. So I'm hoping Sasha can turn it down just a little bit. I'm not saying go from being Daniel Bryan and dangerous to being Miz, as soft as the Miz, but I digress. Impact Wrestling loses one of its longest tenured on-air talents to the WWE, and this one shocked me when I read it. But WWE hires Jeremy Borash. I was shocked. Before anybody even wonders, Jeremy Borash actually predates TNA. He's actually been in the wrestling business way before that. He was on WCW TV as a stooge for Vince Russo back in the day when Vince Russo ran WCW. Then that folded. I don't know if he was in WWE for a second or two when that folded, but I know he's been in Impact Wrestling, TNA, Global Force Impact for ever since he started there. According to PW Insider, I believe, Borash gave several Impact sources word this morning that he is leaving Impact Wrestling. This was a couple days ago. Borash was apparently backstage at the WWE events this past weekend in Philly, but he was telling people that he was just there visiting friends. The word they're saying they were receiving last night at Raw, however, was that he had signed with WWE. PW Insider goes on to say that Borash did some commentary voiceover work for Impact this past Thursday and spent Friday at the House of Hardcore event in Philly gathering content for Impact as well. Those appear to be his final Impact duties. More on this story. PW Insider is reporting longtime Impact wrestler and wrestling employee Jeremy Borash will be working with NXT and the WWE development system once he starts working for the company. Which, if he is going to be the backstage interviewer, we can get rid of Charlie St. Cloud because she is just awful. I would rather have Jeremy Borash as the backstage guy if that's going to be the case. I would love to see Borash as the guy doing the interviews. This guy should also be the guy, and I will say this, coming out and doing the ring announcing for every single title match in the NXT division in NXT. Because every time I've watched many episodes of Impact Wrestling, or when it was TNA, where this guy would do the main event title match, and he has the best delivery of a title match introduction in all of wrestling. This guy, I enjoyed Borash's work on the microphone. I don't see him being on commentary because they already have Nigel McGuinness, Ryan Ronaldo, and Percy Watson, so he's not needed there. Backstage interviewer for most of the night. Title, like if the title's on the line for like when the UK title gets put on the line in a couple weeks for Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne, this guy should be doing the introductions because it would just make it feel more special. He has that way of delivering the introduction of a title match for the wrestling business that Bruce Buffer does for the UFC. Take that as a quote from me because that's what I have to say. According to the report, Borash hire was a decision made by Triple H, but there is no word on when he will start working for WWE. It was noted that it doesn't look like Borash will work on the Woken Matt Hardy storyline in WWE, as he was involved in producing the Broken content while Hardy was with Impact. In regards to his departure, will affect Impact Wrestling plans. Borash was reportedly set to announce with Don Callis, while Josh Matthews was moved to work as an on-air advisor for Matt Sydal. So that really does hurt Impact Wrestling a lot. This guy has been like AJ Styles. He has been referred to in Impact Wrestling as AJ Styles was before AJ Styles left. This guy was like people expected him to be an Impact lifer. He was going to go down with the ship. This guy was going to be there until he was retired and he was done. I am shocked that he actually WWE was able to lure him away. I did not hear anything about him being unhappy in Impact Wrestling or anything else or anything from Borash coming to WWE. So this one does shock me. I saw it on WrestleZone, Wrestle Inc. and all these other places before I clicked on it. Jeremy Borash signs with WWE, and I'm like, what? You gotta be kidding me. This guy's been with Impact Wrestling pretty much since the doors opened, I'm pretty sure. Might be a couple of weeks or so before that, but still. This guy's been there since at least 2003, 2004, if not 2002. Its entire existence. That's 16 years. That's hard to walk away from, and I'm pretty sure it has nothing to do with money. First off, he's going to NXT, and I'm sure he probably made more money in Impact Wrestling than he will be starting out in NXT. I could be wrong on that, but it was not a cost-cutting decision by Impact Wrestling. As I just said, Don Callis, who's running the backstage and is running Impact Wrestling now. Which, by the way, they started new tapings this past week where Austin Aries won the title, and they brought back the Force out of the ring. And it does look like they're going to have a lot of improvement over what they used to have. There was a lot of good wrestling with very, very little in-ring promo time, except for, of course, the final segment, which saw Austin Aries come out and win the Impact Wrestling title. But so after this set of tapings is over, they are kind of just screwed for what they were going to do. I have no idea where they're going to go from here on Impact. I do hope they do figure out what to do. But Jeremy Borash going to WWE, and a lot of people were hoping that maybe this is going to be Woken Matt Hardy getting a new breath of life, because that Jeremy Borash was a huge, huge part of the Broken Universe in Impact Wrestling. So hopefully it won't be this set of tapings. It'll probably be after Orlando, probably, or like when they get after New Orleans. But when Jeremy Borash does come to the NXT, maybe we'll see him as a ring announcer for the main events, which would, like I said, he has that appeal of calling main event matches as Bruce Buffer does for the UFC. But we will have to wait and see. So good on WWE for getting a talent like like Jeremy Borash for NXT. Anything over Charlie St. Cloud, because she is just like uninterested in him, and it seems like she's just not even wanting to be there. This one's an interesting one. David Otunga reveals why he stopped wrestling for WWE, because I first saw this and I'm like, probably because he was terrible at it. And it was not the best place for him to be. I mean, him being behind a commentary desk is definitely not. Him being some kind of legal advisor for WWE is the best place for him to be, simply because he is a certified lawyer. He could be WWE's legal department, which is probably why he has his job still, in my opinion. As anyone who knows, him and Jennifer Hudson have broken up, and they've been in a heated battle between each other, a heated custody battle over the last few months. The battle continues. The two split last November after 10 years of dating. I thought they were married, quite honestly. I didn't realize they weren't. Otunga's attorney released a statement to people following the split. Today, Jennifer Hudson requested and received a protective order against her ex-fiancé. Jennifer's actions are solely taken in the best interest of their son, 8-year-old David Daniel Otunga Jr. David Otunga has been trying to negotiate the terms of an amicable partnering agreement with Miss Hudson for several weeks now. However, when it became apparent to Miss Hudson that Mr. Otunga would be the parent granted residential care of the child as a result of Mr. Otunga being the child's primary caregiver, while Miss Hudson pursues career all over the world, Miss Hudson decided to file a meritless petition for order of protection in an effort to gain an unfair advantage in the custody dispute. As a result of Mr. Otunga's career in the WWE, Miss Hudson felt that she could give an award-winning performance in court to portray herself as the victim. Mr. Otunga has never abused and harassed Miss Hudson or their son, and is unfortunate, especially in today's climate, that she would feel the need to make these false allegations against him. Mr. Otunga looks forward to his day in court and being awarded the residential care of the party's only child. So basically, Jennifer Hudson, right there. I don't care much for Jennifer Hudson at all. Honestly, I don't. But she tried to. So what they're trying to say here is that she would go into court and use his career in the WWE as making him an a horrible boyfriend, husband, fiance, whatever, and that he abused her and their child because he's a professional wrestler in WWE. What kind of fucking idiot are you? If that's your thoughts, I'm not going to say that it is, because this is one side of the story. I don't have Jennifer Hudson's lawyer or Jennifer Hudson's side of the story to this. But if that's her take, and I'm saying a big if that's her take on this, and that's how she is going to portray this, again, this is only on one side. That is a fucking dumbass way to do this, because this isn't the Attitude Era. This isn't the Ruthless Aggression Era, where that would make more sense. The WWE is so PG. If there was any inclination of David Otunga being an abusive parent or abusive figure, like father, husband, or boyfriend, or whatever, he would have been terminated months ago. So to even think that she can even bring that up, if that's what she's going to try and do, like I said, this is a big if. If that's what she's going to do, she is sorely mistaken, because WWE would have had him fired months ago. But as anyone remembers, I believe it was 2 months ago, or last month at Clash of Champions, or was it 2 months ago at Clash of Champions, I believe Otunga was taken off the pre-show panel because of these allegations. So hopefully nothing happens will mess somebody up for that. The statement continued to say the custody battle is now further heated, with Hudson stating that Otunga is unemployed and asking the judge that he finds employment and keeps a job diary. Hudson also claims that Otunga spends his time sitting on the couch so he doesn't pay child support, which she obviously doesn't watch the WWE Network because David Otunga, except for like 1 month or so, has been on the pre-show panel for every WWE live event that's every WWE pay-per-view since he got removed from commentary when he went to go shoot a movie. So for her to even come up with that claim that he's unemployed is just asinine right there. According to TMZ, Otunga feels that Hudson's claim to the judge is ironic, and in legal documents obtained by the site, he claims that she gave him an ultimatum 5 years ago to choose whether wrestling or his family, which is silly. Which is that right there for David Otunga should have told him to get the fuck out of a relationship with this woman first and foremost, because other wrestlers do it too. Which, yes, most wrestlers. This isn't the 80s or the 70s or the 90s where you're on the road 320 days of the year and you only see your family for 40 some days of the year. This is WWE, where they could, if he needed to have time with his family, he could spend it with his family, because WWE knows that family comes first and they don't want to have that bad omen of like they're keeping David away from his family. So Otunga ceased being a full-time active wrestler and became a legal advisor before eventually becoming a commentator. I think he needs to stay as a legal advisor because he still is awful as a commentator. Otunga is still employed by WWE and is normally a panelist on the pay-per-view pre-shows, where, if anything, he needs to stay because him again on commentary was just awful. I would take Percy Watson. I would take Booker T, even though we did say we would take Booker T over him, and it turned out to be a bad idea. I'd take Coach over these guys as well. He appeared on WWE television as recent as the kickoff show for the Royal Rumble this past weekend. In addition, Otunga has been involved in acting projects. So, not to get too far into this thing, but I commend him. This guy was given an ultimatum by Jennifer Hudson that it's either your family or your wrestling career, which, quite honestly, I'm sure a lot of women have done, like a lot of spouses or girlfriends have done this for the wrestling partner, that they like somebody who's not in the business, who's dating a wrestler, gives them an ultimatum that they either give up their wrestling career or you're going to lose me, or you're going to lose me and your family. And 95% of the time, they're going to pick the wrestling career. But good on David Otunga. He did everything he could to make this woman happy, and she's just made it all hell breaking loose. If that's the truth, and he actually like retired from in-ring activity and became a legal advisor, then a commentator, then a pre-show panelist, just to keep things between her and him kosher, I don't see what the problem is. I don't know what her agenda is. Maybe she's trying to get that payday, that extra pay from him because her career is not panning out to where she wants it to be. He's more successful than her by a mile, so she's trying to take it out on him. I don't know. I wish him the best in all this because I'm sure she's just going to make this. And it doesn't matter if you're famous or not. The woman always gets the better end of the deal because it is their word over yours, no matter what you do. But I don't want any of this. Like this, you got to think about the kid for this. Doesn't matter what he thinks. Doesn't matter what she says or he says. As long as the kid, their son, gets the overall benefit of it all, and his entire world isn't going to be split apart, is the best for it all. She needs to, if she's trying to skimp money out of him to try and make those son's life a little bit better, then she needs to get her head checked. But the boy is the most important thing out of all this. David Otunga stopped wrestling because he wanted to give his son the more time that he could because of what the kid's mom wanted out of it. So hopefully things between him and her can be resolved amicably, and the kid doesn't have to go through this because yes, he's a young kid and he's very young still. I'm sure he's not even 10 years old yet. Maybe he is. I'm not sure. But that's what you got to work with right now, is to make sure the boy's happy. If the son can actually come out of this with parents that are at least 50-50, then everything will be great. Stop thinking about yourselves and think about the kid. All I'm going to say about that. 205's GM turns out to be formerly known as Rockstar Spud. It was announced on this past Tuesday's 205 Live episode that the new general manager from the brand will be former Impact star, wrestling star, Rockstar Spud. His new name will be, in the WWE, will be Drake Maverick. I heard that. I didn't watch 205 Live, but I watched the announcement online later. And I'm like, Drake Maverick. So, how does WWE come up with these names? Do they just sit here, have a dartboard with a bunch of names, like one for a first name, one for a last name, and they just close their eyes and throw a dart at both boards and see what's hit? Drake. Maverick. There you go, you're Drake Maverick. Because I know, and they had, I think it was Vic Joseph who said he's like also formerly known as Rockstar Spud. He screwed the name up, I could tell, when he first said it. He was like Rockstar Spud. It's like, if Vic Joseph is going to say Rockstar Spud on live and on 205 Live TV, then why not just call him Rockstar Spud? It was booed by the fans, even though you really couldn't hear. By the time 205 Live happened, Philadelphia was just burnt out from the amazing 5-star match by Andronis Ionomos and Johnny Gargano on TakeOver Philadelphia, the great Royal Rumble men's match at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. And then by the time Raw and SmackDown and 205 Live happened, the entire Philadelphia arena was just dead. So you couldn't really hear the boos, even though there were fans booing the fact that he wasn't Spud anymore. There were people chanting Spud, but yeah. Maverick announced a 16-man single elimination tournament that will begin this past week, which it did, and end at WrestleMania 34 with the winner capturing the vacant Cruiserweight Championship. First round matches announced from this past Tuesday with TCP versus Tyler Bate and Cedric Alexander versus, hold on, my computer just had a little hiccup, versus Grand Metalik. TJP and Cedric Alexander both advanced to the second round in the Cruiserweight Championship title match. TJP defeated Tyler Bate and Cedric Alexander beat Grand Metalik in the first round at the 205 Live. Now, the 16-man tournament, my clear winner of this, I don't even know who's all going to be in this. Cedric Alexander has to win this tournament. This guy has been putting in so much work for the Cruiserweight division, has been one of the, if not the best Cruiserweight WWE's had on that roster since he's been in here. And he has been not thrown out, he had his Cruiserweight Championship opportunity taken away from him. This 16-man tournament, in my opinion, should be 16 other guys, with the winner of the 16-man tournament facing Cedric Alexander at WrestleMania. This guy had two opportunities. In the first one, Eric Arden's ankle got messed up, which it did. It looked like he broke his ankle almost. Got messed up in their first Cruiserweight Championship match. So his match at the Royal Rumble got taken away from him, where he should have won the Cruiserweight title, in my opinion. But it got taken away from him because of the stupidity of Eric Arden. And now this guy has to go through a 16-man single elimination tournament to get where he should be already. This guy should be the winner of a 16-man tournament, should face Cedric Alexander at WrestleMania. But TJP and Cedric Alexander. Then we have Roderick Strong making his 205 debut next week, taking on an old foe, Hideo Itami. And then you have Lince Dorado versus Kalisto. I have a feeling it's going to be, for next week's, Lince Dorado will lose to Kalisto and Hideo Itami will beat Roderick Strong. So that's where those two will go. We'll see Kalisto and Itami making it to the next round, in my opinion. But we'll have to wait till 205 Live. 16-man tournament, always a great thing. Hopefully that the crowds, we need to get 205 Live off of. You want to revamp 205 Live, you want to make 205 Live better, you need to get 205 Live off of SmackDown's after SmackDown. Especially this week showed it real badly. SmackDown is no good for 205 Live. You have 2 hours of Raw, 3 hours of Raw, and then 2 hours of SmackDown. The half an hour, 20-minute show of the Mixed Match Challenge right now, which is doing awful, by the way, in the ratings after the first week. The Mixed Match Challenge is like the XFL in the first time around, where the ratings for the first episode or the first match was skyrocketed through the roof, and then it's just come so far down. The matches I hear are pretty good. I have a buddy of mine, an acquaintance of mine, in a sports league that I run with, that I'm a part of, telling me that the matches are fun. These guys look like they're having fun. Well, of course they are, because they're not hampered by Vince McMahon's rule. I don't even think Vince McMahon's there to watch the Mixed Match Challenge. I'm sure he's off on a plane, off to go figure out what he's going to do for Roman Reigns and how to make this thing look good. He's got a lot of planning to do on that one. But the Mixed Match Challenge is not doing really well in the ratings. It dropped after the first week, and it dropped last night too. This past week too. My biggest thing about the 205 Mixed Match Challenge is you put it on, you have it on Facebook Live, call it a Facebook Watch exclusive, and then 2 days later you put it on the WWE Network. So I have the WWE Network. Why would I watch it on Facebook if I can wait 2 days later to watch it? Does anyone see the problem there? This is Impact Wrestling when they went to Monday Night Raw, like the one head to head with Monday Night Raw all over again. When they went to compete with WWE's Monday Night Raw, they had the first show, which did a killer rating for them, but it started to drop after that because everybody was like, "Hey, wait a minute! It's on the next day. It's on the normal time slot has a replay. So why am I going to watch it on Monday when I can watch Raw? And then when Thursday comes around, I can watch Impact Wrestling." I know why it's on Thursdays on the WWE Network, but there's a way to do this because it's for the UK viewers, because the UK viewers don't get Facebook Watch. Facebook Watch is just in the US and I believe Canada, but probably just the US. It's for everybody else who has a network. Is why Canada. It's why but WWE can filter it so we as the people in the United States can't see it yet. You can have it filtered to where we don't get to see it until after the entire Mixed Match Challenge is over. Then they all show up on the WWE Network. Yes, you can. Other companies do it, so why hasn't the WWE done it? I don't know. That's why that is no. But getting back to 205 Live, this past week was the crowd saw TakeOver, they saw the Royal Rumble, they saw Monday Night Raw, they saw SmackDown Live, that Mixed Match Challenge match, and then 205 Live. That's just too much wrestling. This crowd, this town of Philadelphia was just tired and done with wrestling for about a couple days. They needed a break. We needed a break. 205 Live should have taken a week off, if anything. But if you want to make 205 Live a little bit more successful, have the doors open in like an hour or so earlier, and have 205 Live before SmackDown Live. If you want 205 Live to be any more successful, if you want that lively crowd, 205 Live, then SmackDown Live. If you're not going to do that, then you need to make 205 Live. First off, get rid of that weight limit, because the 205 weight limit is doing absolutely nothing. When you have Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Kevin Owens doing cruiserweight type moves, AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, well, not as much as Shinsuke Nakamura, Dolph Ziggler, all of these guys who aren't even in the cruiserweight division, all doing cruiserweight type moves. Why am I going to watch 205 Live when I can watch the main roster stars who aren't on 205 Live doing 205 Live moves? When you have Seth Rollins, who could be in the cruiserweight division if they want to put him there, but they're not going to, doing a Phoenix Splash, why would I want to watch 205 Live? When you see Samoa Joe doing a suicide dive, when you see Killian Dane this past Saturday doing a suicide dive, that was beautiful for a guy his size. And Killian Dane, I've seen him back when he was Big Damo and then in the Independents. This guy can fly. This guy can do moves that most guys his size probably shouldn't. Same thing with Samoa Joe. Kevin Owens can do moves too. You have Kevin Owens doing a frog splash off the top rope. Why would I watch 205 Live? I haven't seen any of the big guys doing Spanish flies yet, but we'll get there when it gets there. Why would I watch 205 Live when everybody else on the main roster who aren't even in the cruiserweight division? Until you get rid of the cruiserweight, the 205 limit, and you let these guys mingle with the other superstars. I mean, you had Goldust until the Eric Arden thing went down. You had Goldust being like Cedric Alexander's corner, which they kind of dropped that already. Why? I figured, that's a way for them to start bridging the gap between the 205 Live roster and the Monday Night Raw roster. Why would I watch 205 Live when I can watch everyone else do it? When you see Finn Balor doing high-flying moves, even though he could be in the cruiserweight division if they wanted to. When you see all these guys, why would I even care about 205 Live? You want 205 Live to succeed, you need to hit the restart button, get it off of SmackDown Live, before SmackDown Live. If you have to, it doesn't even have to be live. you can call it something else and tape it for SmackDown, so the crowd's a lot hotter for wrestling action instead of having 205 Live be there after a 2-hour show when SmackDown sucks most of the time now. So hopefully this 16-man tournament can help lead to a better 205 Live. I just read an article before I went live on this that there were plans for more house shows for 205 Live this month or next month, but with the fact that the Eric Arden incident and the fact that the 2 house shows that they did bare minimum of nothing good at all, it didn't do like. What were you expecting? You even had Woken Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt on both of these shows, and you couldn't even sell tickets to make this thing viable enough to do a 205 Live show itself. So why would you care? That just shows you that 205 Live is a failure. 100% failure. Should we see 205 Live be... I think 205 Live just needs to be taken away and done. Just exit. You could have a cruiserweight show after... you could have a cruiserweight show that, like, bring the cruiserweights to NXT or something like that. Have them be taping while they're taping NXT shows. Like, split the NXT shows between Thursday and Friday when you do tapings, like you're doing today and yesterday, or Friday and Saturday, Thursday and Friday as you have this week. But have 2 episodes of NXT taped, and then 2 episodes of NXT, and then 2 episodes of 205 Live. 2 episodes of NXT the next day, 2 episodes of 205 Live. So you're not stuck with the same thing, and then you can have a better crowd reaction, because even a 4-week taping of NXT/205 Live in a crowd at Full Sail or wherever they're going to be for NXT is 10 times better than what you get right now for 205 Live. And in Triple H's hands with 205 Live, it would be way better than it is right now in Vince McMahon's hands and Kevin Dunn's, that beaver face. So, that is my thoughts on 205 Live. The tournament will be interesting. I probably won't be watching it, even though I guess Tyler Bate and TJP put on a pretty awesome match. I didn't watch it, and I'll keep update to see how it's going. Will we see matches on Monday Night Raw? Most likely, when we get down to the grand scheme of things, it is going to be a 2-month tournament, which is fine. So we'll wait and see what happens. Update on Jason Jordan's injury. This one's a big one, because this is why the match we saw at the Royal Rumble was as it was. As seen on Raw this past Monday night, this past Monday night, John Cena, Elias, and Braun Strowman qualified for the WWE Elimination Chamber match. Dave Meltzer reports in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins are also scheduled to be in it. So that leaves one spot open. That one was supposed to go to Jason Jordan. Jordan was planned to be the final person in the match, but there might change due to his injury. Meltzer reporting that injury is actually a neck injury, which we have Sheamus dealing with spinal stenosis, like a small case of spinal stenosis, which I'm kind of like not expecting that to actually be as true as it is, because he seems to be working a lot harder now than stiffer than he was before the reports of him having spinal stenosis came out. And that he has, and of course Paige, whose neck injury just ended her WWE career. He's also having issues with his grip, which is usually very serious. What that means is pretty much like he can't even like his grip. This is also, this portion right here, which anybody else who's talked about this hasn't even really probably mentioned. This is what kept Daniel Bryan out of wrestling for, like, he was stripped of the WWE World Heavyweight title, Unified World Heavyweight title, because of his neck injury. And the reason it took him forever to come back is because he couldn't, the strength in his hand and his grip was not coming back as fast as it could have been. So if this is going to be Jason Jordan as well, he's probably going to be done with WWE as well as Daniel Bryan, and he's going to end up having to do something else, because if he can't get back by WrestleMania, I have a feeling WWE is going to deactivate him and say, well, I'm sorry, dude, we have to disqualify you from wrestling in WWE, which is sad, because they just started getting Jason Jordan to be where he needed to be, instead of being that white meat babyface where he just smiles and wrestles and nobody gives a crap. Everyone's giving him that heel heat that he needs, because he's being that whiny I'm better than everybody, I'm this and that, and it works for him. Speaking of the Elimination Chamber, as noted last week, this past Monday was confirmed that the first ever women's elimination chamber match, which we knew about 6 months ago was coming. But of course, after the Royal Rumble, I was like, Ronda Rousey coming out, I figured she would be in the first ever women's elimination chamber match, giving her the women's title and making her the biggest heel in WWE, only for Asuka to beat her at WrestleMania and having Asuka win the women's championship on Raw. Alexa Bliss will, of course, be defending her women's championship, which is why we don't know who Asuka is going for up until this time, because Stephanie McMahon came out and was like, wait until after the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. I would wait until Fastlane's over, because Fastlane, that gives her 2 weeks, but I'm sure they'll wait until after the Elimination Chamber, giving them about 5 weeks. It was reported the Observer that local advertisements in Las Vegas is listing Nia Jax, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Sonya Deville, and Mandy Rose as other participants. They really have no one else. They honestly have nobody else on Monday Night Raw. Alicia Fox is out with injury, broken tailbone. That's sad. I mean, she's been around for 10 plus years in WWE, and she hasn't really had a big injury and stuff. And the fact that she breaks her tailbone right before the Women's Royal Rumble match, it is sad, and I hope she has a speedy recovery. Never want to see anybody go out with injury. I don't care how much I feel about them, what my thoughts are, and how much I hate them or how much I enjoy them. I never want to see anybody go out with an injury, especially something like that, where you probably can't walk for a while because you broke your tailbone. So, hopefully Alicia Fox has a speedy recovery. The timetable for return is probably like 6 months or something like that. So we won't see her for a while. So I'm fine with the Women's Elimination Chamber match. If this is what I would do, even though we'll talk about the rumored listing of matches coming out of WrestleMania here in a bit, Nia Jax is going to be eliminated by everybody. So obviously, she's probably going to be the first one eliminated. We'll have Bayley hit her with a Bayley to belly, Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose hit them with her specials. Alexa Bliss will hardly do Twisted Bliss. And Sasha Banks will probably do something else too, and they'll all eliminate Nia Jax to get her out of the ring. Because quite honestly, if they don't eliminate her early, Nia Jax should be the favorite to win this. So, if Nia Jax gets eliminated first, or one of them, and this is the card, Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, and Nia Jax. Mickie James, I guess, could be thrown in there instead of Sonya Deville or Mandy Rose, but Nia Jax, Sasha Banks, and Bayley are definitely in. So, I could see Sonya Deville, Alexa Bliss, and Mandy Rose all getting eliminated. Sasha Banks and Bayley are down to the final two. Sasha Banks loses to Bayley. Bayley is your new women's champion. This would be a perfect build to get that heel that we've been wanting out of Sasha Banks. Bayley wins the championship by beating Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks loses so violently after being in there, probably for number 1 or 2 from the first 2 starting the match. Bayley goes over, picks her up, they hug. Sasha Banks raises her hand, and then she hits her with the backstabber. And she taunts Bayley. She holds the title up. You get that heel Sasha Banks, and we get that Bayley versus Sasha Banks that we should have got last year at WrestleMania for the Women's Championship going into WrestleMania. Bayley versus Sasha Banks should be your WrestleMania women's title main event for the women at WrestleMania. Will that happen? Probably not, but I think that's where it should go. Moving on here, this is a fun little one I just wanted to look at after this past week. Last week we had big news at the XFL coming back, and we had this past weekend the first 5-star match in the WWE since 2011, which was John Cena versus CM Punk, if I'm correct, at Money in the Bank. X-Pac on what Triple H told him about Johnny Gargano and his thoughts on the XFL. The latest episode of Sean Waltman's podcast, X-Pac 12360, dropped the other day, and a special speech features special guest Ken Anderson. You can watch the episode in the videos online. We got a couple of highlights. He gives his thoughts on the NXT TakeOver main event. Waltman says, and I quote, "It was heartbreaking when Johnny Gargano didn't win. It sucked, but it was so good." And Hunter, Triple H told me I hit him up afterwards, and he was like, "Yeah, Gargano is the last of the white meat baby faces, and that's pretty much true right now. Not that there can't be any more, but as far as what we have to choose from right now, he's the guy that kind of fits that. I don't see anyone else." Daniel, people from JD to Solid Monster to, I believe, Dark Tony and all them else have all come out and stated that Johnny Gargano can be that Daniel Bryan for WWE, that underdog that the entire crowd gets behind, that underdog that everybody wants to see be WWE champion or NXT champion in this time, as he is still in NXT from this. And of course, there's the whole thing with him and Tommaso Ciampa. I don't know where they're going from this. There is tapings that happened yesterday. I have not read spoilers. There's nothing. I've read nothing on it. I don't want to know any spoilers. I will see them as they go. We are going to be at center stage again. But yes, he is the true white meat babyface, as in he's the only white meat babyface that people get behind. And he's the white meat babyface done right. He's not coming out there smiling, putting his hands out, being like, "I'm going to do my best. I'm here to win when I can. And if I lose, that's okay because I did my best." No, this guy is the real deal when it comes to, he works his ass off. He sells like $1 million. He sells as good as AJ Styles and Dolph Ziggler do. And Johnny Gargano is one of those rare guys who comes around very, very often. Not very often, I should say. Not very often. And this guy is somebody that you can get behind. He is that underdog that we all desperately want to see win. We were all upset and heartbroken that he didn't win this last week. Like 1 week ago today, when this is going to drop. This will be on Saturday, of course. But this guy should be NXT champion sometime this year. If he has to go through Tommaso Ciampa to win the NXT championship, after all that's said and done, these two have got to be NXT title on the line between these two. It would make that championship, that match, way more special, especially if Tommaso Ciampa is champion. I will say it though, and I'm still sticking to it because I still feel about that. Triple H and NXT made a big mistake, having Johnny Gargano lose that match. Clean. First and foremost, clean. If you wanted the spot between Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, you had the perfect spot after Candice LeRae sent Selena Vega running. You could have had him come out and have some kind of referee spot, and he whack him, and then of course you have that happen, but they didn't do that. They waited till after. Didn't make any sense to me. Like I said, if they were going to go with the spot that they did with Tommaso Ciampa, it didn't have the impact it could have had. I would have been here elated, like, "Oh my gosh, it's awesome! Look at him, that's awesome!" I would have been like sitting here waiting, and then "Oh my god, they actually did it!" But no. So we have to wait to see what happens for NXT between now and, I believe they're taping all the way up to till March 14th, and then after that they'll be back at Full Sail over the next 2 days. So we'll have to wait and see. So let's see, yeah, Thursday, Friday they taped. I'm not going to read spoilers because it's not fun. I want to have a legit reaction when I come out here on Wednesdays and tell you how I feel about NXT. But we will see when time comes how they do this, what they're going to build towards New Orleans, which, quite honestly, I'm pretty sure the tapings on Friday were the ones that are going to start building to New Orleans, because you have the middle of February, which is just a down period between takeovers for NXT. Midway through the second tapings, which will be in March, you've got to start building towards New Orleans, because New Orleans will be, of course, less than a month away by the time those tapings are done. So it's going to be interesting to see. And when we get closer to that time, I'll start making predictions of what I think will happen at NXT TakeOver New Orleans. But until then, we'll just move on. Waltman also had to say about the returning of the XFL. Well, I knew it was going to happen when Vince McMahon sold a bunch of stock, $200 million in stock, and started an LLC. They've given themselves 2 years to get this thing off the ground, and the last time they had 2 months, and I don't think it's a good idea to bet against this working. We just have to wait and see what happens. I'm just saying there is an appetite for that right now. Well, with the way the NFL has been going, with the fact that Roger Goodell is a belligerent idiot about how to run things, the fact that he's cheating, he helps the Patriots, him and the NFL helps the Patriots cheat to get where they are today. The Patriots, in my opinion, are one of the worst franchises in all the sports, but we're not going to get into that. So XFL coming back in 2 years, hope it works out, and it should work out because instead of saying we're going to launch the XFL from 2000, it's like announced in 2000, 1 year later it's starting. They're actually going to give you 2 years. They're going to name the cities. They're going to get the players, which if you want the XFL to work, you need to get your players signed to contracts this year or early next year so they have at least 8-9 months to get together and build these teams. But we'll have more information on that when teams are named, when cities are announced, when the schedule's all done, and all that good stuff. We'll have it all announced then. Moving on here, there is a new name change for a current tag team that made their debut, apparently. Well, returned this past Wednesday. As you all remember, TM61 made their return this past Wednesday, taking on the Ely brothers in a quick fashion win. They got Shane Thorne and Nick Miller took part in a post-match interview where they claimed they would be known as the Mighty. It appears as if the team actually is getting a name change, as WWE.com show recaps referred to them as the Mighty. And Shane Thorne posted the following comments. It says, Miller and Thorne responded with their trademark high-energy offense, finishing off their opponents with Thunder Valley. Nice little move. For the victory, it was a mighty impressive win, which made the team even more fitting when it post-match interview backstage with Australian duo announced they will be now known as the Mighty. Shane Thorne added in this tweet, New year, new old us. Before they signed with WWE, the Mighty / TM61 was known as the Mighty Don't Kneel on the independent scene. So, okay, that's fine, I guess. I mean, it would take them away from TM61, which if there are kids watching this show, TM61 is also a Pokemon thing, as they named in, I believe it was the second one of those. It is a technical machine in Pokemon, which I believe is Sunny Day, so getting away from a Pokemon reference would probably be good for this team. Yes, TM61 I believe is also a cruise missile, but more people know it as a Pokemon item over anything else. So getting away from the name TM61, which I don't know who gave him that name at all, but go with the Mighty or the Mighty Don't Kneel. I'm fine with it. Kenny Omega. This one's an interesting one, and this is why Kenny Omega is not in WWE at this time and why he re-signed with New Japan. On why he hasn't joined WWE, and it has to do with the New Day. The latest This Week in Wrestling article at Sports Illustrated it featured an interview with Kenny Omega who discussed the New Day. Omega said they are 3 of his favorite wrestlers in WWE and he feels that Big E could be a world champion. When I see Big E, says Omega, I clearly see someone who could be world champion, said Omega. This guy is on another level. Kofi is one of those guys who could good in all situations. He can challenge for all titles. And Xavier is another great athlete who is talented in the ring and confident on the mic. Quite honestly, if they broke up the New Day just right, these 3 could be off to do great things. And of course, one of them would have to go to Monday Night Raw if they were on SmackDown. Big E for World Champion, Kofi or Xavier for U.S. Champion, and the other one on Raw for the Intercontinental Championship. Omega also noted that the New Day being in the same spot in the company for years makes him hesitant about possibly eventually signing with them. Omega says, it's things like that that really make me think twice about what I would go into if I eventually do go there. Basically, what he's saying is the New Day, who made their re-debuts and their debut as a faction, 3-4 years ago, haven't really done anything since. None of them have challenged for the world title. None of them, you had Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods getting a shot to maybe become U.S. champion. Xavier Woods was in the tournament. Kofi was in a fatal 4-way this past week. But none of them have been challengers for the for the world titles. And quite honestly, Big E, the way this faction was going to start out when they first came together was take opportunities for themselves because they haven't been given any. And I thought that was going to be maybe with these factions coming together, maybe Big E could get a world title shot and maybe a world title run. And of course that hasn't happened. And Big E needs that, should get that rub in my opinion. Kenny Omega and Big E end up having a Twitter exchange about this. WrestleRap had the quote from Kenny Omega, and when I see Big E, I clearly see someone who could be world champion. This guy is on another level. Big E, quoted this. I'm asked, "You making this quote up? Don't play with my emotions." And Kenny Omega quotes, "It's all true." I agree with Kenny Omega. Big E is one of those guys that has the mic skills. He's proven it way before New Day that he has the mic skills to be a WWE champion. He has the in-ring work. He's got the muscles. You know how Vince McMahon loves his muscular guys. This guy could be, if they gave him the chance, a world champion. Would they do it? I think SmackDown Live would be the better place for him. You would have to break up, if you broke up the New Day, which they teased it a little bit, even though it was a subtle tease that they might be breaking the New Day up. But anyway, why would you break the New Day up to do this? You can just have Big E go for the World Championship. This guy should be in the Money in the Bank next year. This year, I would like to see Big E of the New Day win the Money in the Bank, go to SummerSlam or sometime between there, and win the WWE Championship in a match. Like, he win, like, probably after Shinsuke Nakamura loses it, because, you know, we're not going to have Big E versus Shinsuke. Have Big E win the title off of whomever is champion after Shinsuke Nakamura, and have him hold the title for a bit and see what he does as world champion. This guy could be a world champion, and factions usually go out and win titles. The New Day has only been tag team champions, and they can do better than that. Of course, Vince McMahon only has them together as a team because he loves the New Day as they are. I'm over the New Day like this. I would like to see them get a little bit more added, like a little bit more fierce, and I'm done with the jokes. The pancakes need to go. So, would I like to see Big E become a world champion? Yes, very much so. This one's an interesting one, and I like this one. AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura Hype Mania match on Twitter. This is what makes these two pretty great. This one was just little promos on Twitter. Of course, WWE probably won't reference these. Maybe they will. It'd be in the best interest. Shinsuke Nakamura took to Twitter the other day. I think it was on January 31st. Respond to tweets that WWE champion AJ Styles wrote for him after the Royal Rumble win on Sunday. In exchange is AJ Styles tweets 756 days. This was, I believe, on Sunday. You beat me in Japan. 756 days since the last time we faced 101. 756 days since I won in my rematch. 69 days until I get my opportunity. Of course, this was on Monday then, I guess. Nakamura Styles WrestleMania. #WrestleMania. Nakamura responds with, "Even the stone you trip on is part of your destiny. We've waited so long since it was in Japanese Tokyo Dome. Our return to the ring will be welcome. #WrestleMania." Looking forward to that. Vince McMahon, don't screw it up. Do not screw it up. Just saying, do not screw it up. You have a gold mine waiting for you at WrestleMania. The fans are clamoring for this. I do not, under any circumstances, at Fastlane, because Shinsuke Nakamura is not going to have a big high-profile match unless they do this after, of course, the Elimination Chamber is over. John Cena is not going to win this. John Cena, who's just wanting to go to WrestleMania, he's trying to get to WrestleMania. I do not, under any circumstances, want you to even think of having John Cena come out the Tuesday after the Elimination Chamber on SmackDown Live, because he's a free agent. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Come out and goad and coerce Shinsuke Nakamura in putting his WrestleMania match on the line at Fastlane. So you have Nakamura versus Cena. The winner goes to face AJ Styles at WrestleMania. Because that right there is then finding a way to get out of this Shinsuke Nakamura AJ Styles match if Vince McMahon sees fit. Especially if The Undertaker isn't coming back for WrestleMania, which, if it's going to be the only thing that I can see them left doing is at the Elimination Chamber, Taker screws John Cena out of the match at the Elimination Chamber, but we'll have to wait and see. But if they don't do that at the Elimination Chamber, I have a sneaking suspicion that they're going to have John Cena talk Shinsuke Nakamura and putting his title shot on the line at WrestleMania, and I do not want to see that. Rumored WrestleMania 34 card right now. We are less than 60-some days until WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans, and just one match has been confirmed by WWE for WWE's biggest show of the year. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura because of the Royal Rumble. We do have a handful of rumored matches, and the matches that have been planned for some time. The Wrestling Observer Newsletter reports this week that Raw Women's Champion Alexa Bliss is set to defend her title against Nia Jax, which leaves Asuka to cash in her Royal Rumble title shot against SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair. Which, in my opinion, her going to SmackDown and winning the women's title, quite honestly, opens up more matches because she's kind of beaten everybody in one shape or form on Monday Night Raw already. She just beat She just beat Sasha Banks, which is why I said on the Monday Night Raw review, the reason they did that match on Monday is because she's not going to be here after WrestleMania on Raw, so she's going to SmackDown. So she can face Ruby Riott, she can face Naomi, Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan, and I think she's faced Liv Morgan in NXT. I could be wrong. The rumor card is as followed. Universal title match, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. That match is happening. Styles versus Nakamura, that's confirmed. Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss, which I don't even care about. I would rather have Bayley versus Sasha Banks. Much bigger match, especially if Sasha Banks is heel. Oscar versus Charlotte Flair, can't get any bigger than that. The Intercontinental title, Braun Strowman versus The Miz. This one is a mystery one because a lot of people are clamoring for Finn Balor. I know JD from New York is clamoring for Finn Balor to have this spot, but especially since he had that he's touted the night after the Royal Rumble. He touted that he was his 57 minutes Iron Man status in the Royal Rumble this year, and you had him go out and he lost to John Cena the night after. So what are you going to do with him at WrestleMania? Is he going to be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, or is he going to be in the Intercontinental title match against The Miz? I don't know, but right now it looks like it's Braun Strowman versus The Miz, which I'm fine with if you're going to have that. Ronda Rousey and a partner The Rock or Kurt Angle, most likely Kurt Angle because I don't think The Rock's going to happen, versus Stephanie and Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. John Cena versus Undertaker in the finals of the Cruiserweight title tournament, the 5th annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Okay, that's a pretty good match card. Now, like I said, if you heard in the beginning of this, my thoughts on Ronda Rousey and the fact that she stole the thunder of the 30 women to pretty much just say I'm going to WrestleMania, even though she's done nothing. So what they're going to do with her, I do not know, and I honestly do not care. That's one match that I'm not going to care about. It doesn't matter. They can have Ronda Rousey and The Rock versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. I'm not going to care. That's going to be one match. I'll be looking at my phone. Oh, the winner. Won't care. Won't even care. Obviously, Ronda Rousey and her partner are going to win that match if that happens, so who really cares? John Cena versus The Undertaker, 4 or 5 years too late. I think it should have been done while the streak was intact. Just like any match after he lost to Brock Lesnar should have happened before the streak got broken. Of course, they'll have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. The finals of the Cruiserweight title, they don't have anything on the U.S. title, which, honestly, if they're going to have the U.S. title, I would like to see a ladder match. If you're going to do a singles, you got to have a ladder match. And unfortunately, WrestleMania has become, instead of Showcase of the Immortals, let's get everybody, it's going from the Showcase of the Immortals, where everybody who deserves and has worked their butts off and has good plans going into WrestleMania makes it on the WrestleMania card, to let's find as many ways as we can to have everybody on the card. And you don't need that. Of course, that's what the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is for. Most likely will be on the pre-show as well as the Cruiserweight title match. I would have, and I don't want a multi-man ladder match for the U.S. title. I would like to see them do the Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, where Dolph Ziggler comes out with a brand new looking U.S. title, because the U.S. title is the only title introduced in 2002 that hasn't changed look at all. Yes, the Intercontinental title looks like it did back when Shawn Michaels was gunning for it, as well as others. But that one was reintroduced in 2010. This one's been around since 2002, and it does need an update. I think titles should get an update every so often. Not every 2 years or something, but like every so often. So, yes, So I'm thinking if we're going to see tag team matches, if we're going to have the tag team titles on the line at WrestleMania, I'm going to say Revival versus the Broken Hardys if Brother Nero comes back, because quite honestly, the tag team division needs Jeff Hardy more than the singles division does right now, because it's so loaded in the singles division on Raw that you don't need Jeff Hardy for that right now. Down the line, yes, but right now, the tag teams need it more, and we want to see Brother Nero and Woken Matt Hardy, simply because Woken Matt Hardy, when he was in Impact Wrestling, it was always him and Jeff for the entire time. It was either him versus Jeff for the first few months at the beginning of it. After that, Jeff became Brother Nero, and they were a tag team. When he started actually being Brother Nero, instead of just fighting against Matt Hardy, it was the Broken Hardys from like before Bound for Glory up until they left, and it was always tag team between these two. So we'll have to wait and see. And on SmackDown, I would have to say the Usos, who will not lose those titles to WrestleMania, versus Rusev Day. If Rusev's not in the U.S. title picture for the titles, and I would like to see Rusev Day winning. If Rusev Day is still white hot, which they should be if they're booked right, WWE has an ample opportunity this Tuesday. We haven't seen a double turn in a while. I think Dolph Ziggler versus Alberto Del Rio a couple years ago was the last time we saw a double turn done right, where Ziggler was the heel, but Alberto Del Rio was the face going in, and they switched them. This coming Tuesday is the best thing they can do. Have Bobby Roode beat Rusev, but in a heel fashion. And then after the match, do his, like when he beat James Storm for the TNA title at the time, and just have him spit on him and just play up the big time heel. That's what we need to see out of Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode as a babyface has not worked in WWE right now. Unless you're having him go up against, like, the only time Bobby Roode as a babyface ever worked, in my opinion, was when him and AJ Styles and Kazarian and James Storm were the Fortune, and they split away from the Immortal faction, and he cut that scathing promo, that beautiful coming out, like Bobby Roode coming out of his shell promo on Hulk Hogan. If you haven't seen that promo by Bobby Roode, that is the best babyface promo anybody has ever cut in that promotion. That one you gotta go back and see. It's Bobby Roode's promo on Hulk Hogan after they helped Anderson beat Jeff Hardy for I think it was the week after. Yeah, it was the week after. It was whenever Hulk Hogan came out, and he had that huge promo on how bad the WWE, how bad Hogan and them was screwing up Impact Wrestling, how they fired Jay Lethal and everything else. It was the best promo by Bobby Roode, and it opened the eyes for a lot of people of how good Bobby Roode really is. But this Tuesday with the WWE United States Championship on the line, they have a chance to make Bobby Roode a heel going into WrestleMania, and they need to do this, and then have Rusev Day become babyfaces in all. But we will have to wait and see. That is your WrestleMania card rumored so far. Of course, the top two matches we do have are going to be confirmed eventually. Roman versus Brock, Nakamura versus Styles, unless WWE gets cold feet. Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss, Asuka versus Charlotte, Braun versus Miz for the IC title, Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. The Rock's not going to happen. He's not going to be anywhere near WrestleMania by that time. Cena versus Taker, and finals of the Cruiserweight title tournament in the 5th annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So, yeah, that's a pretty good card, but that's not going to be the whole card, plain and simple. This was something that comes up nowadays since that horrendous Royal Rumble the year Roman Reigns won. Who puts the men's Royal Rumble together? This year was Vince McMahon, Jamie Noble, and Michael Hayes. Vince McMahon pretty much had to go into the office and be like, well, I let other people do this, but I got to do it myself. If I want this thing for the fans to love, I got to do it myself. So him put this thing together. Jamie Noble and Michael Hayes helped him. Pat Patterson was there, who came up with the match, the Rumble match back in the 80s, was backstage to offer his expertise. So I'm sure Patterson has some input too. So Vince McMahon, if this is how the Rumble match is going to be every year, I would rather have Vince McMahon do it himself instead of having like Jamie Noble or Joey Mercury, who did it back when Roman Reigns won, which was an awful one by itself. It just was. So much improvement this year over all these other ones. So hopefully we'll see that next year with Chase Field, which will be an interesting one. But there's a little insight of who would put together the men's Royal Rumble match. No word on who put the women's together, but that one was not good at all. Fans calling Bayley's match on main event a demotion. She has a response. Prior to last Monday's Monday Night Raw in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Bayley wrestled a match on WWE's main event, taping for the first time in her career, taking on Sonya Deville, who was accompanied by Paige and Mandy Rose. Bayley scored the win. Some fans see this as a demotion for the former Raw Women's Champion, since WWE main event is a secondary show and generally features mid to lower card Raw wrestlers not involved in storylines. Bayley, however, considered it as a good thing that she's on the main event card. In response to the criticism, she tweeted the following Thursday night. Guys, let's get this straight. It is a good thing I was on main event. I'll take any chance I can get to step inside the ring, especially in a singles match, and especially when it ends up in a victory. First off, Bayley, like, what is Bayley going to do? What storylines do they really have for Bayley right now? Yes, it does feel like an emotion, but Bayley's happy to go out there and get a match on main event or Monday Night Raw or Superstars, which doesn't exist anymore. She's going to take it. There are plenty of superstars in WWE right now on the main roster who are just fine sitting in the back at catering, doing absolutely nothing and just collecting a paycheck, or sitting at home doing absolutely nothing and collecting a paycheck. Good on Bayley, Sonya, and all those other women who aren't factoring into anything right now until next week. The biggest thing about Monday Night Raw this week was Asuka, her chance at WrestleMania, and her match with Sasha Banks. There was nothing. None of the other women were used tonight on this past Monday, which was a good thing in my opinion. So Bayley, who wants to be out there in the ring, would take a match on main event than being not used at all. So just cool your jets, guys. She's going to be in the women's elimination chamber match unless something else unforeseen happens. So she's on main event this past week. Not a big deal. I'm hoping they do some kind of qualifying matches because they do have enough women, I think, to have qualifying matches for 5 spots. So you can have Bayley versus somebody. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. But she's going to be in the women's elimination chamber match, so this is nothing. Just Bayley wants to be one of those women out there who does everything that she can to hone her craft and wrestle. She would probably want, if she could, she would probably wrestle on Raw, the main event, SmackDown, SmackDown, the 205 Live, NXT. If she could wrestle all over the world every single day, she would probably do it. Not a big deal. She'll be on Raw probably next week, taking on somebody, if anything, to do some kind of qualifying match, because they do want to make up this women's elimination chamber match. Maybe like Sasha Banks or Bayley or somebody has to qualify. Not all of them. I'm sure Nia Jax is in automatically. Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville will probably be on automatically. I could see them doing something where it's like Mickie James or Bayley. The winner goes on to the elimination chamber match. Get us one qualifying match for this at least. I know they don't have exactly enough women that are good enough to be able to be in. I mean, Alicia Fox is hurt, Paige is hurt, which would have helped out a lot for qualifying matches. Dana Brooks, whatever. But Mickie James versus Bayley, I could see them doing as a qualifying match because there's Bayley, Sasha Banks, Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, Nia Jax, and Mickie James are the 6 women that could be put into this match, and you only need 5. So I could see them being like, Kurt Angle comes down to Bayley and Mickie James arguing over who should be in the match in the back with Kurt Angle, and he's like, you know what? I'm not going to make the decision. One of you guys will be in, but you have to go in the ring and figure out who by wrestling each other. It would work for me. So anybody who's like throwing a fit that Bayley was on main event past week, just calm it down. She'll be fine. Like I said, there's people in the back you don't see on TV half the time, like Primo and Epico, even though Epico just had shoulder surgery. When was the last time you seen them on WWE TV? Pull Apart Brawl, I think, a couple months ago. Those guys ain't doing nothing. They're collecting a paycheck. So, yeah. Tyson Kidd had a little Twitter exchange with a fan about being injured by Samoa Joe, which led to his in-ring career coming to an end. Tyson Kidd, of course, said he has no animosity, and this right here is where we have belligerent idiots in the wrestling community and how much of a cancer the wrestling community is. Jeffrey Holland, replying to TJ Wilson, every time Samoa Joe gets hurt, I feel happy he fucked up your career, and karma will keep biting his giant ass. First and foremost, you're a fucking idiot, Jeffrey Holland. I don't know who the fuck, you don't understand how these guys go. Tyson Kidd, TJ Wilson, Tyson Kidd, has zero animosity. He says, I have zero animosity with Samoa Joe. I found him my first day back at WWE after my injury, and we had a very good heart-to-heart. I wish him nothing but the best. Jeffrey Holland and people like you who sit there, and this is the Sasha Banks thing too. When Paige went down with injury, people went all over saying it was Sasha Banks' fault. Injuries happen, you stupid fucks. Injuries happen in wrestling. Samoa Joe did not go out there meaning to hurt Tyson Kidd. Just like Sasha Banks did not go out there at a house show meaning to hurt Paige. You people who sit there and think, oh, this is karma for Samoa Joe. He hurt and ended Tyson Kidd's career. Shut your fucking mouth, watch the product, and keep your opinion to yourself because you're looking like a belligerent idiot. I've never been in a wrestling ring, but I can tell you right now that those guys and gals go out there and put their bodies on the line every single day of their lives. Don't sit there and wish injury on. Don't be like, oh, I'm happy Samoa Joe's happy. He fucked that Tyson Kidd's career. Fuck you. Fuck you, Jeffrey Holland, and any other belligerent idiot like you. There's people like you that make the wrestling business terrible. Go fuck yourself and stay out of the wrestling business. If that's how you think about Samoa Joe getting injured, you don't deserve to be watching wrestling. Go fuck yourself and every single one of you like you. We don't need you in the wrestling community or the internet wrestling community. Tyson Kidd already said he has no animosity, and I know he would now have no animosity. It's not like Samoa Joe's like, I'm putting you on muscle busted, I'm going to end your career. No. He went out there, they were both thrown out there for a match. Wasn't their fault. Things happen. No one throws shade when when Finn Balor got injured. You sit there and blame Seth Rollins for it? No. You go out there and blame other people for injuring other people? No. Knock it off. Did you blame Bobby Roode for Samir Singh tearing his ACL because Bobby Roode didn't because he ran out of the ring and got injured? Do you blame Eric Arnett for fucking Cash injuring himself? No. So what the fuck is your goddamn problem with Samoa Joe getting injured and saying it's karma for him injuring TJ Wilson, aka Tyson Kidd? You're a fucking moron, and people like you just need to get off your fucking rockers and get the hell out of the wrestling community. We don't need people like you. And it doesn't help the wrestling business. Go fuck yourself for the last time, you stupid fucks. It's great to see Tyson Kidd back in WWE one way or another. I believe Natalia said he is a producer in WWE, so it's great that they're actually using him for something other than just feel like, well, it's great to see that. And I did see a clip from Total Divas. I don't watch Total Divas. It's nice to see that he's able to walk around. He got very, very lucky in that injury. 10% survival rate, and he made it back, and he's up and walking. Like, this is just like, his injury is bad as Draws, and if anybody knows who Draws is, Derek Drosnov from the late 90s, who got injured in a match against who the heck is it? He got injured in a match with D'Lo Brown. D'Lo went to do his running powerbomb, and this match never showed up on air. But he ended up landing on his head. Draws was forever paralyzed from the waist. He's completely paralyzed. I guess he does have movement in his arms, but he does have some paralysis in his fingers still. So he has to have complete care. But TJ Wilson is a lucky dude to be able to be up and walking and living his life now that as it is. And it's great to see that he is working with WWE as a producer in any way, shape, or form, because that guy is talented, and it is a shame that he isn't going to be able to wrestle again. But anybody who says that it's karma when Samoa Joe gets injured because of him injuring on accident, you stupid morons, you need to just check yourself out and stop watching the product, because you just have no idea what you're talking about, you stupid idiots. It's people like you that gives wrestling fans a bad name. So go fuck off. We already went over that, didn't we? Yep. I think that's it for me today. Let me see something here. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I believe that was it. So, that is going to be all. I believe I went over everything. Let me see here. I think I went over everything. Yeah, let me think. I believe that is everything. We did go the women's the women's elimination chamber. Yes, we did. Definitely want to look forward to that. But that is going to be all. We have been here for an hour and 34. Sorry for that last scathing rant, but it just pisses me off when super fans sit there and try and. Oh, before we do leave, I do want to make a mention of the Grimm's Toy Show incident. I don't know Grimm at all, Grimm's Toy Show at all. But apparently in his video reaction to the Royal Rumble, he called Nia Jax Nia Fat. And it kind of riled up Nia Jax, who called him out on Twitter. And pretty much said he's a moron for doing it. he did apologize to her for it and everything else. And there was people actually in this promo in the first feed that Nia Jax did. I don't have the actual information on it, but I guess there were people in there pretty much shaming and shaming Grimm for what he said about Nia Jax, which I don't know Grimm at all personally, so I don't know. And I guess JD knows him more personally and says this isn't how Grimm is. And I'm gonna sit there and say I don't know Grimm, so I can't sit there and say that I can say that that's how he really is. Maybe it's just a character that he plays, which you have to be careful nowadays, especially with this hashtag Me Too or Time's Up or whatever it is, which has now been a witch hunt. So anybody who says anything scathing about a woman or does anything that doesn't make anybody happy about a woman that is sexually whatever or shaming a woman, that they should sit there and be careful, because he does have kids, he does have young girls who are sitting there on a video they're doing that they also quoted Nia fat, which is not something you should ever do. Fat shaming is something that should just be gone. I mean, WWE does it too. WWE has done it to Kevin Owens. They've done it to Nia Jax. They did it to Piper Niven in the Mae Young Classic, which, if I'm correct, she put on some of the better matches in WWE's Mae Young Classic. There were people backstage in the Mae Young Classic. These reports came out during that time that there were officials in WWE that thought Piper Niven shouldn't even been in the Mae Young Classic. But the fact that this guy, who I've never met before, I think I've seen one video of his. I did see his video, part of the Internet Darlings, with him and JD, who JD played Vince Russo. He came out and hit him with an elbow drop as him and Brian Zane were doing some kind of little fighting thing, Jim Cornette versus Vince Russo. Funny little skit, that was awesome. That's why I actually ran into first saw JD for the first time on YouTube. But you got to be careful nowadays, because everyone is so sensitive to this, to gender equality. This is why WWE's been pushing this women's first time ever agenda, why they want to have the women be as equal to the men. How they want the WWE women to be bigger than the men. That's why the Women's Royal Rumble went on last. Because they want to please the social justice warriors. They want to please advertisers. Be like, look, the women are getting just as many opportunities here in WWE. Even though I know, of course, you can go back and talk about this with other people. Review Tech USA, which is not wrestling but a review a gaming channel where this guy talks about stuff pushed on this Me Too initiative, which turned out to be people talking about getting Harry Weinstein and all of those guys out of Hollywood and other things, and how it's now become a witch hunt. So if anybody, even I, could go out and just say something in 3 or 4 years ago about women, then, which I'm not saying I have, but I'm just saying I or any other male can go out and have said something 5-10 years ago that gets dug up, and it's gonna kill our careers, because it's all about equal rights for women, which I'm fine with, that women's equal rights should be, but you gotta know better than that. Like I said, I don't know Grimm at all, and I guess he then apologized to Nia Jax, and she accepted his apology, which could have been done way better. First and foremost, and the guy, if the guy is able to be DM'd, DM the guy, voice your frustration to this guy, and he will sit there and probably anyway come out and publicly apologize. Just don't do it in front. Don't go out and embarrass yourself and embarrass him, having your social justice friends or your social justice warrior female friends come out and be like, this guy is the detriment to the world. He should be shamed for calling her fat and all this stuff. This is also the company, WWE, that's fat shames Kevin Owens on a weekly basis. Fat shames Nia Jax in the back. Fat shamed Piper Niven. The reason that you see Cassius Ohno wearing a shirt while he wrestles is because he gets fat shamed all the time, because he doesn't have a six-pack abs. He has a little bit of a gut. This is why you see guys like Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens did not be assigned when they should have, because they thought they were out of shape. This is why Cassius Ohno was fired from WWE back in the early NXT days, because he wasn't in shape. Because because they don't have the WWE shape. WWE doesn't want to use them like they should. This is why Kevin Owens took forever. Why Sami Zayn got hired before Kevin Owens. Why, when they did the Kevin Owens DVD why you heard Seth Rollins says, I never thought I'd see Kevin Owens get hired by WWE. Basically, it's not because of his talent, because Kevin Owens is a very talented wrestler on the mic and in the ring. It's because of the shape of his body. The fact that he's not a six-pack, does not have a six-pack, or doesn't have a small stomach. He has a little bit of girth to him. Same thing with Samoa Joe. Killian Dane, I'm surprised, made it to WWE. Has he been fat shamed? I don't know. Most likely because the guy's a big burly dude. War Machine will probably have to feel with that too because they're big two burly dudes too. But that's just how WWE is. They're hypocrites on themselves because they sit there and be like, be a star. Don't be bullied, be a star. But yet you're sitting there fat shaming and bullying people in your own company, so you're being a hypocrite on yourself. It is the hypocrisy of WWE that's like, yes, he shouldn't have did it. He shouldn't have said it. He probably didn't mean it. It was probably just him playing a character. I've never seen Grimm's Toy Show. I saw, again, like I said, I saw the Jim Cornette parody versus Vince Russo parody where he came out and elbow dropped JD, who was playing off a ladder, playing Vince Russo. So that's the most I've seen of Grimm's Toy Show. But the guy you gotta watch your words in this day and age. But it could have been done. It could have been settled way differently. If someone has a problem with what I have to say, don't just bring it out to the public. If it's a personal problem that you have, my DMs are open. All you have to do is just send me a DM, and I'll issue an apology if needed be. But that's just my thoughts on that. Like I said, I don't know Grimm's Toy Show at all, but that's going to be all for this episode of Unscripted, the first Unscripted, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I did go over everything that I could find at this time. We will be back here next week for Unscripted, the second one of these. We are going to continue this off because news, rumors, and results and predictions is just getting thrown away. It is WWE Unscripted from here on out. Let me know in the comment section what you think of the new name. And let me know in the comment section below what you think of what's going on in WWE and the thoughts of the rumored WrestleMania matches and everything else we talked about today. Ronda Rousey's stealing the thunder of the Women's Royal Rumble and Asuka's moment just for her to say, hey, I'm going to WrestleMania. Follow me on Twitter at TheFranz. Follow me on twitch.tv/TheFranz08 where I stream every single day. It is a PG stream, of course. This is unscripted, so anything goes here. So just let me know if you do come into my stream, it will be PG. If you're not, we will ban you, but here anything goes. Make sure to leave me a comment in the section below. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell for all notifications to know when I upload. We'll be back here on Monday night for Monday Night Raw. And you